feeling good today.
Okay.
Thank you, Donald.
Well, that's nice. Why are you doing so well today?
hmm it's just been a pretty productive and connection-rich day so far. I got a good start to my morning, which is always a game changer for me. Actually, having the time to
Mm,
creating the time, I should say, prioritizing the time to be with myself in the morning. So I got that this morning, and I've just had a series of really positive, effective meetings. And now I get to be here and talk to you for an hour, which is pretty great.
Well, I'm glad you folded this moment into the awesomeness of your day. I felt that. Good and solid example of starting your day being good to yourself and
Hmm.
starting it off right. And that's one of the things that's so appealing about your organization, our organization, that we'll talk about a little
Ours.
bit later, is this mindful approach to convening and creating a space. And it's a great start. So, hey, who are you?
Oh, yes. Maybe we should start there because you and I know each other, but all these other wonderful humans who are listening, watching. Hi, everyone. My name is Jennifer Nicolaisen. I'm the co-founder and executive director of a small, quickly becoming not so small nonprofit based in Western North Carolina called Seek Healing.
Right on. Seek healing, and that's how we met. I love to go to webinars and conferences and such to fill up my toolkit for the rural communities I work with. And I don't know if it was a couple years ago, sat in a webinar and you were hollering into the mic, and not hollering, that's an expression I use. You were sharing some insights that were so resonated so well with me. I was sending little private messages like, okay, we need to talk. And and then COVID came, and but eventually there was a reconnection, and a strong reconnection. And ultimately I get to volunteer on the board of directors now, and it's very meaningful. Yeah.
It's
Cool.
such a asset to have you as a
Oh,
part of that team.
no, man, I'm here to support this beautiful idea and the strong work that you and the staff do.
Mm.
I get to watch and be part of it. And it really, the pivotal moment was this weekend listening training
Mm.
that I got invited to, and spent a weekend in Western North Carolina. And it was trajectory changing for me, and how I live my life and approach my relationships and work. And I guess we'll talk a little bit more about that now. I guess is a good time. Tell us more about Seek Healing.
Sure. And listening training in particular.
Sure, man, whatever you think's most important. I
All
said Seek
right, all right.
Healing. Drop that G.
Seek healing. Isn't that what we're all doing though? Just seeking some kind of healing.
Right on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's see where I can start.
Hmm.
The best way to understand what Seek Healing does is that you can think of us as a social health organization, which is part of a new wave of entities, organizations, thought leaders in the mental health and recovery space, really understanding how at the heart of sustainable recovery from trauma or substance use is our capacity to form meaningful connections and relationships with each other. So we are not therapy, we are not pharmaceutical or medication assisted approaches, although we do work with providers in those spaces. What Seek Healing does is really focus on the social element of recovery from either trauma or substance use or any other symptom of disconnection.
Social health, disconnection, and the symptoms that manifest are substance use issues and other
Mental health issues of all varieties, I would
mental
say,
health issues of all
tend to
varieties.
stem from the attachment traumas we experience in childhood that make our experience of connection with other human beings challenging for whatever reason. We fall to these patterns and our brains create sometimes incredibly complex scenarios to get us through those wounds around relationship and connection. And what we do is help people move back towards secure attachment, one experience at a time.
Wow. And it's such a common sense approach. And I'm delighted to see this transition from an exclusively medical model approach to addressing substance use issues in particular, to really getting a better understanding of the role disconnection and trauma play in these behaviors, and addressing those. And it makes our work cut out for us folks in the prevention, harm reduction, treatment, and recovery space. No more templates and cookie cutter approaches to working with people. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You got
I
us
suppose
on
that's the
those.
downside, but then on the upside, we have the truth that like the whole community suddenly becomes a resource if we don't have to rely on, not, therapy has its place, medication absolutely has its place, it's critical often in early recovery. And every human that's a part of every neighborhood, every community can participate in this part of the solution, right? In the social health solution. So in some ways, our resources just vastly increased.
That is the upside. Yeah, everybody is a resource. Everybody can be good medicine. Nice, nice. Well, the purpose of No Thanks But Yes is to have chill conversations with splendid people like yourself, and people who have overcome at some point in their life a chaotic relationship with alcohol or other drugs or behaviors. And do you identify as a person who has overcome a chaos, or a person in recovery?
I absolutely do. And I really appreciate that definition in particular. It feels really specific. I overcome a chaotic relationship with substances. Yes. Yes, I have. I'm proud to say.
All right. Right on. We often just call it recovery or what have you. So what does that mean to you? What does recovery, or what does this healthy, connected life, authentic life, what does that mean to you? What does it look like?
For me, it looks like being able to actually enjoy my life, being able to choose the things that I want to do rather than feeling like I'm a slave to getting my next dose or finding the next hit of validation from the people around me. For me, those two things were really intertwined in my substance use. Yeah, it looks like freedom. Looks like freedom, and it looks like pleasure for me, Donald, which I know is like a slightly edgy thing to say in the recovery world. But for me, or for some, I think maybe not for you, but for me, recovery is fun. Like it feels good, and it involves a lot of, it just involves a lot of pleasure and play, and finding out and figuring out what real pleasure looks like, which I thought used to come from drugs and alcohol, but actually is available in much richer, deeper experiences without those substances.
Yeah, right on. Oh, and we get to discover that, and that was eye-opening for me. So what a splendid definition. Freedom from those bonds with the substances, or the validations or the behaviors, and fun and pleasure, and a new kind of pleasure through these authentic connections with other humans. It's good stuff. Yeah,
it's great stuff. Yeah, it's great stuff.
It is great stuff. Well, tell me more about kind of what's going on with Seek Healing right now, and then how folks can get connected with it. And tell us more about that. I attended the weekend listening training, and part of my mutual aid activity is attending some digital listening practices with some other beautiful people. And You have trainings as well. We have trainings. So there's a lot going on. What's up? It's
Hmm.
good.
Yeah. There's a lot of good going on. A lot of people to get plugged into as well. So yeah, as you mentioned, we have you can think of our services kind of as twofold. There's the training that we provide, which is just a deep dive into authentic communication, how to build relationships that feel more meaningful, how to set boundaries that are helpful, or not only helpful, but also healthy and compassionate, how to manage and start to shift that experience of social anxiety that so many of us have when we're in a group of people and we're afraid of, get self-conscious, don't know how to show up. Listening training is as you yourself said, it can be extremely transformational, especially in the form of the weekend retreat. It's offered as a weekend retreat and also as a 6-week class. It's mostly experiential, along with some videos, and the experience just completely transforms our capacity for relationship and how we connect with other people, and just brings attention and awareness to the way that we have conversations. So you'll be in a lot of exercises that are facilitated by the people leading the course, but those exercises are designed to draw your attention to where's my autopilot in conversation? How am I showing up in a way that's actually, I thought was real, but I'm actually not being authentic in this moment? And how is that blocking me from being able to connect with the person who's in front of me? So it's deep work. And I'd say we offer, so, these two kind of modes of programming. That education piece is one. And then the other piece are just experiences of meaningful human connection. And we have a whole playground of different ways that we do that. There's meetings that happen on an ongoing basis. Like you mentioned, those are called connection practice meetings. They serve as a really great complement to a traditional 12-step journey if that's a part of your substance use recovery. They're also a great alternative if for folks who don't resonate with that particular system. And those are both online and in person in Western North Carolina. We also are always throwing other kinds of events, like different types of socials and community gatherings where people can come together in safe, substance-free spaces and have fun, dance, eat, make food, hang out with each other. It's such an important part of connection, is just gathering in community. And then we also, the other way that we play in this playground of connection is to match people up one-on-one for service work opportunities with each other. We call them connection missions or random acts of kindness. So I know service has been a huge part of sustaining my recovery. And I know that sometimes I have the energy to be of service to someone else. And sometimes I really could use some help myself. So this system is set up so that we can all kind of give and receive from each other. If someone's sick and needs a meal, someone's in the hospital and needs someone to call and check in on them, somebody's just really, really isolated and could use a phone call or a friendly text, the program matches people up with each other to give and receive those acts of kindness.
Oh, well, it's great. It was I feel lucky to have discovered it in my journey towards seeking a more joyful recovery and more authentic connections with other humans in my recovery. I met y'all at approaching 17 years in recovery, and so I was deep into a journey and some entrenched pathways, and it was time to shake things up just a little bit. And you were there, so I'm glad to be part of this now.
Yeah, I think it's so important for us to orient that way, to like really understanding how recovery is an ongoing, ever-changing process and evolution. And we peel back one layer, like it's never static. It's not just like, oh, I don't do cocaine anymore, but I'm still, and like, as I continue through my journey in life, I'm noticing all the places where maybe I'm still holding on to crutches that get me validation outside of myself, or don't feel so good in my body. I actually just recently stopped, or am experimenting with letting go of caffeine, which is also a powerful substance in and of itself. Yeah. So I just really honor you for saying that, because I think that the process is ever continuing, and there's not there's never not a time where we could not benefit from um, diving into
Yeah.
connection with each other.
I think more folks in early recovery and mid recovery and long recovery need to hear that.
Mm.
One of our recent guests, author Brian Cuban, he went on about that for a little bit, about allow your recovery to evolve,
Mm.
opposed to these notions of static nature of recovery that are imposed by others or socialized through others. And his recovery's evolved. Mine has tremendously evolved, and it's helpful to be reminded of that. And social media is helpful in that. And you get these reminders of what you were passionate about 10 years ago, and I'm like, delete.
Yeah, yeah. We are constantly changing beings.
Yeah.
And not to let ourselves, I would say in early recovery too, not to let ourselves be limited by those definitions or scared by them if we see how someone else is practicing recovery. I know for myself, it's never been a fully abstinence oriented path. And for me, that was really hard in the beginning, like not seeing other people who were having this idea that recovery needed to look a certain way or be defined by certain substances. So yeah, I just think letting go of all of those expectations, whether we're early in recovery or 17 years in and looking for something fresh, as long as we're always looking for something fresh and looking for what is most authentic to our experience, we're on the right path, I'd say.
Yeah, authentic. I do remember reaching out to you for a piece I was working on for this description of substance use disorder and recovery, and authentic was a word that you drove home for me, and I ended up integrating it into the piece, and it felt authentic. So,
Yeah, it's a really specific word, I think it brings up the other word that I like, and it's a little bit different, but authenticity kind of connotes this. It brings me back to myself and what it is that I truly have to say that nobody else has to say. Another word for it that I like playing with sometimes is sovereignty, which we
mhm.
can lose, right, when we're really deep into the service aspect of our recovery and we're giving to others and we're listening to others, we're helping other people. But none of that can lose its authenticity if we lose track of where we are in that and what it is that we individually have to say, and prioritizing our voice. So it's a value that I hold very deeply.
Sovereignty, strong word. And I have a good friend that will be a guest on the show coming up, Indigenous American leader here in North Carolina. And he says sobriety is sovereignty, and that word is a deeply meaningful word for nations of people who had lost their sovereignty and were attempting to regain it. And I've also strongly believed that autonomy is something that's part of really authentic recovery, is connection, purpose, autonomy, and we figure out who we are. So who we are, I want to know more about you. I have a question. What kind of music do you dig?
Oh man, I love all so many different kinds of music, but what will really get me moving and dancing are different kinds of electronic music. What I really love is a genre called glitch hop. I don't know if you're familiar with that, or
Oh,
trip hop.
I am familiar with trip hop. Yeah, I used to play in a band that sampled trip hop. Yeah.
Okay,
Right
yeah.
on.
So along that direction, bands like Jade Cicada, Charles the First, Planetray is one that I've really been enjoying lately.
Oh, people gonna be Googling left and right, trying some of this music, see how it gets. I will be, for sure. Right on. So this that was the question that was on my mind, because I want to know that about people. I dig music a lot and all kinds, for sure. Really deep in the jazz right now. Yeah.
I love some good jazz. I love listening to soulful singers as well,
Oh
in
yeah.
the right mood. That's less like for dancing and more for emotional movement, you know? I can get down with some jazz with you, Donald, for sure.
So fun. We talk about fun, what we do for that pleasure in recovery. Tell me what you do for you, and how do you get your
Hmm.
kicks?
Well, music is definitely a big one. Dancing. Dancing is so important to me. I realized about 6 months into COVID, um, what a loss that was in my life, especially dancing to live music and with other human beings around. So I've done what I can to create that, even just in my living room as COVID has progressed. But really grateful also for the return of being able to dance in public. It feeds my soul in a really deep way. I love hiking these beautiful mountains that we live in out here in Western North Carolina. I'm a student of foraging practices and arts, so learning all about edible wild foods and plants is
Nice.
a passion of mine.
Yeah, one of our
Um,
recent guests, Megan Hetfield, it just got her mushroom foraging license. We talked about that.
oh wow,
Yeah, yeah, mushrooms
cool.
are awesome.
They're amazing. There's so many different kinds,
Yeah.
and I really enjoy the mindful sort of presence that foraging can bring to my hikes. It has me, if I'm really focused on actually understanding and noticing what each plant is and what food or medicine it might have to offer me, it just brings a whole different level of mindfulness to the experience of being in nature and hiking, that I've really enjoyed.
Oh, that sounds lovely. And you're in the right area of the country. I was raised in Western North Carolina before I ran off and joined the service, and hiking. I dig hiking, but I miss hiking in the mountains for sure.
Mm.
Yeah. Dancing,
Yeah,
foraging.
dancing, hiking, foraging. And I'd say beyond that, just connecting with my friends and my community and having, I mean, go figure, as much as I've been talking about connection so far on this podcast, right? But
Yeah.
even outside my professional life, I love creating those meaningful, rich social experiences through Seek Healing and the work that we do. But I do them, for my personal community as well. Granted, there's a lot of overlap between my friend group and my Seek Healing community. But yeah, having experiences and gatherings that are intentional. And like last weekend, we threw a birthday party for one of my friends where we had each room of the house, we transformed it into one of the five senses. So going through the house was this sensory journey where we like tasted different foods in the taste room and looked at really beautiful art in the sight room and kind of went through this shared journey together. I really like designing. I like designing experiences like that, and
Mm.
then being in them with good people, with people that I can connect with and appreciate the experience with.
Yeah. I tell you that that's one of the things that I found appealing about you and some of the staff with whom I became close was, uh, in this space, folks can teach theory but when you see some folks authentically living that which they are sharing with others or proposing as a design for living, um, I felt that. I felt that.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. The Sikh healing folk live it. Yeah. So I'm not surprised that there's little compartment between that practice and your fun.
Mm.
Cool. Groovy. So we uh, like to share a message with our millions and millions of listeners out there. If you were to have all of them as a captive audience right now, what kind of wisdom would you lay down on them right now?
Ooh,
No pressure.
No pressure. You owe me a Coke, Donald. Except I don't drink Coke. You owe me a, I don't know.
Not anymore.
A hangout. That's right. What message would I give? I mean, to the collective, to, not just any individual, I would say, may we all just remember how important our connections to each other are, how we can actually be the medicine that helps the whole world reconnect, heal, rebuild new systems. I won't even say like rebuild the broken systems that we find ourselves in, but actually create something new. That it starts with us first and foremost, and in the smallest little actions. Then if in each of our interactions we can dive into more authentic expression, that quite literally perpetuates love. And I believe to the depth of my core that that's what the world needs. It's what we all desperately need. That's what our planet needs. If we have any chance of making this next step together.
Man, that's beautiful. The world needs love, and we can play a role in manifesting that love through some very practical and authentic activities yeah, that's hopeful for me, Jen. Appreciate that. Yeah. I hope it resonates with everyone out there. If not, whatevs.
Yeah, I think it's easy to get, I know for me anyway, I can get really down sometimes. I can feel really despairing, especially when I look at the state of the world. And there's so much that's been happening, especially in the recent couple years, that there's a lot to cry about, honestly. But I am so convicted in the truth of this thing, that these small choices to love each other, if we're all really prioritizing that, those moments where we feel like we're not doing enough, or we're imposters, we're not like really doing a good job, or we're not in the right job, or whatever your thing is, like, honestly, I don't, like, in the core of me, I really don't think any of that matters. I think what really matters is how you're showing up the next time you talk to another human, and what you're showing them with your actions and the way that you speak, what you're inviting them into.
Boom. That was perfect. You're perfect. Practically perfect. Sorry. Who wants to
Thanks.
Practically perfect in every way. Well, it's been a treat, my friend, and I really appreciate you coming by.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This has been great. Thanks, Donald.